Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the A Lange Sohne 1815 chronograph in 750 pink gold, a chronograph in black dial, reference 414.031, their third generation of this 1815 chronograph. I will tell you a little bit about the history of this 1815 chronograph, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar 1815 chronographs by Lange, and then I will tell you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. The 1815 has been out since 2004. Now it's 2025, so that makes it approximately 20 years old. And there are three generations of the 1815. The first generation was produced from 2004 to 2008, a very short period. We actually have sold one of those before, and we have another video on it on our website, jazztime.com. If you'd like to look at it, it looks very similar. I'll go through the differences when I start talking about the specifics of the case, bezel, dial, and movement. But suffice it to say, the first generation looked a little bit dated, well, because it's 20 years ago. The second generation had some changes, and it was produced from 2008 until 2018, so it had a good, strong 10-year run. And then in 2018, the third generation came until, which is now 2025, which is still being produced, and I suspect it'll be continue to be produced for several more years before they come out with the fourth generation. Each generation had some slight differences. This isn't a comparison, it's a review about this particular one. So let's leave it at that. There's basically, the take-home message is that this is the latest and greatest of the 1815 chronograph. It's manual wind, it's rose gold, and it's in black dial. Okay, so that's a little bit about the history. Now, of course, they changed many things when they were producing the different generations. The latest one, which is what you're looking at here, is the final evolution. It's the chronograph with the latest movement, the latest dial. Everything is the latest and greatest. And so there we go. Let's move on to the next topic, which is, where does this watch stand in the lineup of other similar 1815s? Well, let's start with this. What kind of models are there for the Lange? Well, there's the most famous one, which is Lange 1. That class of Langes look like the Lange 1. They have the world time and several other. It has an asymmetric dial. Okay, that's probably their most famous. And then they have the Zeitwerk, which is also really famous. It's the digital looking circular watch, but it's actually a manual wind watch, which we also have sold at jazztime.com and have many videos on that. So if you like, just search in our YouTube channel below. Then they have some other lesser known ones like the Saxonia and some other ones, but they also have a very nice one, which is what you're looking at here, which is the 1815. Okay, what distinguishes an 1815 from the rest of them? It is the case. The Lange has a Lange case, and this the 1815 has this very unique case, which probably would bring us into the next topic. But before we do that, let me just tell you, where does this watch stand in the lineup? Well, it's the third generation 1815, which means it's the latest and greatest. Now, they don't make a lot of variations. Lange is making one in white gold and one in pink gold or rose gold. And when they make it in white gold, they have two dial colors, either black or white, simple. And when they make it in rose gold, they have two colors, very simple, black or white. So there you have it. You're looking at the black version and in rose gold. Okay, let's start talking about some specifics now. Let's start with the case. Now, what makes this case an 1815 case, and what makes it so special? Well, let's look at it. Let's start with the lugs, because I think that's probably the most interesting part of it. If you look at the lugs, you'll notice that they do a really good job of having these asymmetric lugs that are really beautiful and just a little different than what you might see on another watch. You see, normally you have just a straight a straight lug, but they sort of do this beveled edge on it that really makes, in my opinion, the watch stand out and look superb. Looks fantastic with these sort of curved lugs, and they place the placement of the spring bar low on the watch head so that the watch sits more flat on your wrist as opposed to putting it high. So when they slope the lugs, it just lends for a much sleek, much better fit on your wrist. Okay, now the lugs, while they don't look that crazy, but they definitely look, in my opinion, quite nice. And I like how they're kind of flared out a bit here with this beveled edge. It's subtle, but then again, what did you want them to do on it? Like make a circle, right? So they did a really nice job, a very elegant way to make the dial, or sorry, the lugs. Now, the lugs, of course, they connect with the head of the watch. And what else I like about this is that they did also a really nice job of making the case alternating finishes on the case. They have a high polish and a brush finish. So the high polish bezel, and then they go and it slides into a brush finish on the sides. So the middle case, I guess you could say. They did a very nice job on the middle case, and it just I just think it looks like a very clean, sleek look. And of course, you have the pushers on the right, which are for the chronograph, and all of this is done in rose gold. Now the diameter is really nice. It's 39.5. Now you might be wondering, is that good or bad? Well, generally 40 to 42 is like a normal size. 39.5 is a little bit on the small side, not much. It's only 0.5 millimeters. Most people probably couldn't even see that, but it does wear very nicely. So for those who don't have a huge wrist, which is most people, 39.5 is going to match really nicely. And in terms of thickness, it has a thickness of only 11 millimeters, which is not thick considering that it's a chronograph. And the reason why they're able to do that is because it does not have a rotor. It's a manual wind, which allows you to see the back much clearer, which we'll get to in a moment. But what I like about this is just the dimensions of this. It's a manual wind chronograph from a top level brand, A Lange Sohne, and it's just beautifully done. You're not going to see a lot of these. All right, now let's move on here. That's the case. Okay, let's move on here to the. Actually, I didn't really point this out. You see the lugs on the 3 o'clock side. Do you notice how they kind of look like they're attached? They're notched and angled. So they're angled with this beveled edge, but they're also notched. So it looks like they're actually stuck on there, and then there's a middle case going around it that's all in brushed steel, and then the pushers come out, and even the pushers are done nicely. The pushers are alternating between high polish and brush finish, and so they just look like they're also attached to it. It's just a very nice design. All right, so that and all sandwiched between. So there's a middle case, a bezel that's on top, and then sandwiched on the bottom is the case back, and it just all done very nicely. And okay, so let's move on here to the dial. Now, what is special about the dial? Well, you might think, well, it's just a black dial. Yeah, true, but it has layers to it. Now, we talked about this when we did a video on the first generation version of this. And so what kind of things can I say that are different from the first generation? Well, first of all, the subdials are all black, and so is the dial. Second, the A Lange Sohne name is at the top, which is where it was in the first generation. In the second generation, for whatever reason, they put it below, which did not look very good, and they got rid of that. It was below the 12 o'clock position. To be honest, it did not look good, and I think A Lange Sohne realized that, and they changed it back. And then thirdly, I'm talking about the most noticeable differences here. The tachymeter on the first generation was really strange. It had these sort of like pitchfork looking minute markers where I don't really know what the point of them were for. Really strange looking. And then uh, they had different the subdials were in a different color. I think they were silver or something. Anyways, the way that they have made it now with this all flat black, it just looks a lot better, a lot cleaner design. Okay, that is okay. So that's the dial. And oh, I should also say, they didn't change this from previous generation. But what is nice about the dial, it's not just flat. Yes, it has a little bit of dimension to it. It has actually kind of three layers. You have the first layer, which is where the numbers are written, 1 through 12. And then you have this little circle behind it where the words Flyback Chronograph are printed. And then you have another layer, which is the subdials. And actually, you have the final layer, which is the very outer rim where it says A Lange Sohne. So it's as if the watch, even though it's all black, it appears to have quite a bit of depth to it. And in my opinion, just really makes the watch stand out. And you can't notice it until you really look carefully. But then you realize, wow, it's what a beautifully done dial it is. Okay, so that's the dial. And of course, actually, the hands have not changed. These are sort of signature hands by Lange. They do this pretty much, this style of hand. I don't know what you'd call this. It's kind of like I guess it kind of looks like a sword. But at any rate, they do a really good job on making these hands. This is signature Lange. And the way they look at how they do the second hand, they do the second hand with a counterbalance on the other side with this sort of triangle. They do it on a lot of their watches, so it's their signature. They do it on their Saxonia, they do it on the Lange 1. It just really looks nice, looks very classy. Okay, let's move on here to the, where should we move on here to? Let's move on to the movement here. Okay, now the movement on the previous generation 1 and 2, the third generation has the latest movement, and I believe this is called a, let's see what they call this movement here. Just scrolling down here to find them. Oh yeah, the movement here is a L951.5. This is the latest movement. The old movement, I believe, was L951.1. They changed it to a .5. Now, what is different about it? Well, this one has 306 parts, which is it's a lot, but it's not. I'm sorry, it's not a lot, but it is on the high side. Chronographs often have between 250 and 350 movements. This is a manual wind movement, so what makes it so beautiful is that there is no rotor to obstruct the view of the movement. And Lange has the best finished watches of any brand, period. Nobody does it better. Patek does a great finish, but they don't do it as intensively or as good as Lange does. And why do I say that? Well, look at the bridge. Look at everything else on this. You see hand engraving on it, and it's just done to perfection. I mean, it's an overkill. And what does engraving or finishing do to the movement? Not a whole lot. They make up some BS about saying how it makes it run better, but I don't really buy that. But what does it do? It definitely makes the watch look good, and it definitely takes a lot of time, and it increases the price of the watch. It's an expensive thing to do, all this crazy hand finishing on it. So it looks just beautiful. Okay, so that is the movement. What can we say about it? It's just basically the new movement. It's what is better about it? Well, it's just more accurate. It has a longer power reserve, and it's the newer movement. It's the latest and greatest, and it looks beautiful. So that's what we say about it. Okay, now let's move on to the strap here. Now the strap here is your standard pin buckle strap. You can actually buy a deployant if you want, but I like the pin buckle because number one, it's simple. It's what comes with the watch, and lastly, and most importantly, I would probably say, is that it is very secure. In fact, it's the most secure way I believe that you could wear the watch. Okay, all right, that is the buckle. It comes on this black crocodile, but of course you can change it to whatever you want. Okay, Now, time to talk about, oh, that's it. Let's try this watch on. Now, I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. As you see, this 39.5 millimeter watch does not look too small on me. It looks actually just great. And I would suggest it for those who have a penchant for very high-end watches, but watches that are not going to be ones that everybody knows about, ones that you know, this is your watch lover's watch. You have to really like watches to buy this watch. It's not like your bling bling AP, rose gold, look at me, I'm a baller watch. No, this is for somebody who really truly appreciates a high-end watch done to perfection, and it's really a work of art that they've done here. So I think this is a fantastic watch. It's at a great price. There's actually a wait list for this watch. If you go to Lange, they don't just have you sitting around. You gotta put your name down and wait for it. This one's fantastic. It's complete. And look, if you want to buy this watch at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.